I
think we're live.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi guys, so my name's Johnny and this is Rowan. And so we're both experienced fundraisers at ICS. We're just gonna stop briefly and double check whether the sound's working because I'm not sure if it is.
Let's just try, shall we? If you can't hear us, just chuck us a comment and we'll see what we can do, okay? Right, well, no one said anything. So, yeah, I think
we're going to go ahead.
We're going to go ahead.
Okay, sorry for that brief delay. Technology is not my friend. But yeah, so as I was saying, so I'm Johnny and this is Rowan. So we're both fundraisers at the ICS team. We've got a lot of experience of supporting hundreds, if not thousands of volunteers. So yeah, we've got a lot of experience with this, and hopefully we're going to help you, just give you some extra tips for if you're at the start of your fundraising, or even if you're you're fairly through, you're halfway through potentially, and you still just need a few extra ideas to top up the ideas you've already done.
Yes, so it is interactive and there is a Q&A function available, so please do send through your thoughts and questions. I can see we have a few already, so we'll just say a few things that we want to get out the way and then we'll get on to your questions. We've got a video to show you as well, just to get you started with your fundraising. But like I said, please throughout, don't be afraid or shy to ask us anything you fancy, okay?
Okay, awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a video now, which is about network mapping. Yeah, could definitely say that there. So hopefully this will work well, and yeah, we'll come back and answer your questions in a bit.
Ooh, it's like Inception.
Stop the chat.
Hi and welcome to this ICS fundraising tips video. My name's Isaac and I'm going to take you through an activity today which I find really useful when I'm planning my fundraising. It's designed to get you thinking about all those different people who might be able to help you with your fundraising efforts. It's called network mapping and it's really simple. So you start with a big piece of paper and I'm going to write my own name in the middle of that piece of paper. Once I've done that, I'm going to think of somebody else that I know and pop their name somewhere else on the piece of paper. I'll connect those two names together and then I'll have a think about the ways that they might be able to help me with my fundraising. Would they come along to an event that I've organised? Would they help me to organise an event? Do they have any special skills or talents that they could donate? For example, they might be an artist or a performer. Maybe they work somewhere useful. So if they work in a supermarket, for example, they might help you to organise a charity backpack. So I've chosen my friend Anne, and Anne works in a pub. So I'm going to talk to Anne about whether it's possible for us to run a pub quiz at her pub. But I also think that Anne would probably support me by donating towards my sponsored activities. So I'm going to pop both of those things down as well. So you can carry on doing this with loads of different people. Do it with as many people as you can think of. Or you can start doing it with groups of people or organisations that you've been involved with in the past. So for example, I'm going to think about my old school. And also my family. I'm also going to have a think about my office, my workplace, whatever that workplace might be. I'm going to think a bit further back as well and think about any youth groups that I might have been part of when I was younger. once you've spent about 15 or 20 minutes doing this, you should have filled up your page with loads of possible fundraising links for you to make use of. If you need any help with the network mapping itself or with coming up with new ideas, then do get in touch with your fundraising support officer. And we also have a great A to Z of fundraising ideas video for you to check out if you're a bit unsure about what kind of activities you could use with these networks. Good luck with all of your fundraising. Don't forget to get in touch if you need anything. And I'm going to crack on and finish off my networking map.
Right, okay, cool. So hopefully that has potentially given you some extra ideas, or maybe think about some of the networks that you might not have reached out to yet. I can see that we've already got one question which is kind of touching on the idea of networks, so we'll come to that later. If you haven't put in a question yet and you still want to, just put it on the right. And if there's a question that you've seen that you think you'd really like answered as well, just click the plus button and we'll make sure we answer that one.
Yeah, and the video we just showed you as well is available on our ICS YouTube page, so do go along there as well. We have a few other videos as well, so you can get a few more ideas, and it gives a bit more instruction on things like collections, for example. And I can see we have another question about book collections too. But what Isaac just showed you is a really, really useful exercise to undertake right at the beginning of your fundraising. It's really important that you do figure out, who all these networks are. As soon as you sort of write down on paper who you're going to approach, suddenly you'll remember a few people are, and again, you can build your networks from them. So, if your friend works in a pub, for example, then that landlord might have, someone else that they get in touch with, and you never know who you can reach out to or who might respond unless you ask in the first instance. So it really is a worthwhile exercise to undertake.
Yeah, sure. Shall we start with some of the questions on the right?
Yes, what do we have? So the first question is from Katie Robertson, and she's asked if Balloon Ventures have resources. So I'm actually your fundraising support officer, Katie, and you emailed me today. I haven't had a chance to get back to you yet, but yes, they do have things. The same goes for all of the ICS agencies. We do have resources that we can send to you. They are quite minimal. We just have balloons, posters, and bucket stickers, and we really encourage you to get really creative with doing your own things as well. We're happy for you to copy paste the logo, the pictures, or lift text from our website and then design your own stuff. But we can send them out to you. We don't send them out as standard, so do get in touch with us if you do want a few things, and then we can pop them in the post to you. With your t-shirts specifically, it might vary from agency to agency depending on if they have the correct amount of t-shirts at a specific time. And but again, let us know or let your agency know, and then we can send them in the post to you as well. But it is just the one t-shirt per volunteer, so we can't give you as many as you want for all your friends and family. It is just the one, so please take care of it.
Cool. Yeah, and the second one, so we've got a question from Georgie Lee, sorry if I've got your last name wrong, which is about, and so you've said that you've been asking everyone, for sponsorship for your half marathon. Good work on the run already, not my thing. But once that's done, you're stuck with your ideas because you'd be basically inviting the same people, which I definitely completely understand that as an issue that you might face if you're doing fundraising. It can seem sometimes like you're just repeatedly asking the same people again and again. And I guess I'd say that there's 2 points for that. So the first I'd say is that if you vary up the kind of event you're doing, I think it does change how people see it. So I think there is a difference between asking someone to sponsor you for, say, a run that you're doing, which obviously a lot of people would be happy to do. And there's a difference between that and, say, inviting them to an event. So if you're setting on a pub quiz and maybe you've got some food going as well, you never know, you might be able to speak to the bar and see if you could get some extra prizes going, potentially do a raffle as well. That's going to be a bit of an extra incentive, I think. And I think if people are paying, for something, as well as knowing that it's going towards your cause, I think people do feel a bit happier to do that. But another point I'd also say is that you're right, you are going to need to kind of reach to different networks if you are going to hit your fundraising target. And actually, hopefully, that's where the network mapping video comes into play. There are lots of different kind of networks which they don't have to be close friends or close family, but they'll still potentially be willing to help you out. So I definitely write down, see all of the, have a go at the network.
You can't say network.
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 Have a go at the network mapping, and yeah, see if there are any contacts that come to mind. It might be, for example, you know someone who goes to a local church or a local community group, and they might be willing to either put an event on there for you, or you might be able to go in and do an event there. For example, I've had lots of volunteers who have been able to, even if they haven't gone to a church themselves or a different community group, they've been able to give a presentation, you know, just explain what they're up to and say, I'm going to be at the back of the hall doing a bake sale or something like that. So it'd be great if you come over and give me a few donations. Yeah.
So, and just with the thing specifically for a pub quiz, for example, as well, you know, if you have 10 friends and those 10 friends have donated to you, you can still invite them to your pub quiz, but tell them not to be in the same team. So ask every friend to bring 3 of their friends that maybe you don't know, or could they bring their colleagues? So you are, you know, extending your network through your friends. So it's not just your family and friends, it's their family, their friends, their colleagues, and those are people who haven't donated to you. But as Johnny said as well, if people get a service or a night out in return for their cash, I mean, people go to pub quiz anyway, so they might as well pay for your charity pub quiz as a social event, because that's something they might go to anyway. So, but don't, you know, but also sort of don't feel shy as well. You know, you are fundraising for a really good cause, and you obviously are putting in the effort, so I'm sure your friends and family would support you. So it might seem a bit cheeky and you might feel a bit awkward, but you know, you're gonna have to put yourself in that awkward situation as well, and just sort of take it on the chin, because I can guarantee you on placement there are going to be lots of instances where you're going to feel awkward and shy. So if you can practice those feelings now, it may be worthwhile.
Yeah, cool. And then so the third question, sorry, is from Kieran Rose, which is about asking for the best ways to engage with a crowd at bucket collections outside the supermarket with limited time and money. Do you want to take that one first?
Yes. So with a bucket collection at a supermarket, you don't actually need time and money. You need time to stand there, of course, but you know, there shouldn't really be an issue with money, because all you need to do is stand there with a bucket, which you can get really cheaply online, and more often than not, the supermarkets will have their own buckets, just because collections at shops are quite a normal thing by now, so they probably do have a store, so do ask there if you can borrow for your collection, and again, we can send you bucket stickers to jazz them up with the correct branding. But yeah, sometimes fancy dress works a treat, you know, just to grab attention. You can do things like play music, but again, just make sure that you have the permission from the store manager to do that. Sometimes having things like lollipops to give out, you know, all these sort of little things that aren't really that expensive. But it is, you know, there's not much you can sort of do with it. It is just you standing there, obviously smiling and engaging with people, but it is a really good one to do. It's really lucrative. And lots of charities do depend on collections quite a lot because they do work. And again, this plays into the question before, if you really haven't got that many networks, or maybe you've drained your immediate networks, this is something that you can do, because you're not relying on your friends and family. It is the general public and strangers who you'll be approaching for sponsorship. So that's a really good idea if you are sort of struggling with things to do outside of your immediate networks.
And just to quickly add on to that, so I'd say collecting is great, and you know, that can be a really good way of getting in some quick and easy donations to your target. With supermarkets especially though, I think once you're there and if you're speaking to them already, I'd really advise going and asking and seeing if you could maybe do some bag packing as well, where you just stand at the end of each aisle, offer to pack people's bags for them. If you can go with 3 or 4 friends, that can work really well. I mean, we know one volunteer actually who raised her entire target in one weekend of doing that. And obviously I can't promise that's going to happen to you.
But you never know if you don't try.
Exactly, and it's an example of, you know, how much it can raise. So definitely people are going to be, you know, if they're at the end of the till, they'll have their wallets open anyway. Not saying you're taking advantage of that, but you are kind of going to be able to engage with them a bit more than just kind of with a bucket. So I think trying to be a bit more interactive is definitely the way to go there.
Yeah, And like Johnny said, as soon as you have an in, you know, really building that relationship. If they said once, odds are they'll say yes again. You know, if you have a few free weekends, you know, go down as many times as you can. Obviously, with the correct permissions, don't just turn up. But again, with backpacking, you know, we see people average around £70 a till in the session. So, you know, if you have 5 other friends and 5 other tills, that's going to get you a lot of money in just one sitting. So it really is worth doing. Just make sure you organise it sooner rather than later, because like I said, it can be quite competitive as it is quite lucrative. So just make sure that you have enough time to get a date in the diary.
We're just going to quickly bring up, we got emailed a couple of questions as well, so do you mind just bringing them up on here? Yes. We can help. I think there are a couple of extra ones that have been sent in. Okay, so I'll just answer one quickly from Amy Roadmark about writing letters to trusts and how long they should be. So first of all, if you contact your fundraising support officer, we'll be able to send you a kind of template letter, which should, obviously you're going to need to edit it and personalize it a little bit. That's definitely worth doing. But I wouldn't write essays to them. As much as anything, they're not gonna have a lot of time to read them. Secondly, I mean, the good thing about ICS is that it's really well known now. So a lot of trusts and a lot of organisations are going to be used to hearing from volunteers who are doing ICS, which doesn't mean you should spend no effort at all. You definitely need to make yourself, you know, seem worthy of their time. But yeah, I wouldn't worry too much about the length, more worry about kind of the content and making sure that, you know, you're selling yourself well.
Yeah, but if you just ask us though, we like Jen said, we have the templates and we can send all of that to you. Just get in touch with your fundraising support officer. Right. So so I'm just looking over here because that's where my computer is. So one of the questions that we had emailed in to us was, can I use my own money to boost my fundraising or to get me to target? So this is a bit more of a grey area. Of course, you are at your liberty to make a donation to yourself. You know, if it was the first donation to kick everything off, or it was just a little bit more to get you to target, you know, it's the charity and you're completely within your rights to contribute to the cause. What the problem is, if you want to contribute a substantial amount, that's not really correct. You know, you're here to engage with the fundraising. We need to see you putting in the effort and commitment and learning from this process and upskilling yourself, and, you know, raising awareness of ICS, your charity. That's sort of the main thrust of the fundraising. So even though you can make a small contribution, it's not really appropriate to make anything near sort of, you know, a halfway or a quarter of the way there. And again, you know, one of the major things about ICS is that it's a program that's accessible to young people from all walks of life. And we don't want it to be a situation where if you can afford to pay it, you just pay it. You know, it's not a service that you pay for. It's a service where we need to see you fundraising and engaging with the project. So a small contribution. So to wrap up, a small contribution is fine. But anything more than that is not really cool. But yeah, if you're stumped for ideas and this was your last resort, again, please get in touch with us and we can work out a plan of action with you moving forward.
Yeah, one thing, definitely don't rely on doing absolutely nothing until your last week and then thinking you're going to just pay in a lump sum. As much as anything, by that point would have been in contact with you a little bit just to try and get some communication. But yeah, get in touch with us. We'll be able to, as much as anything, we don't want you going into your own pocket. When you come back from placement, it's going to be good for you to have, you know, a bit of money if you've managed to save some up to fall back on. So where possible, we don't want you going into your own pocket. Just quickly, so there's a question from Hannah Foley. So yeah, so you've asked, you said that you've been thinking of doing a cake sale, and at your selection day, one of the leaders mentioned doing one at a hospital and how to get access. So, I mean, I know it sounds a really simple one, but I'd say go and ask. They'll be used to those kind of requests. As well as that, so in the initial email you should have got from either myself or Rowan or one of our colleagues, you should have received a letter of authority, which you can edit with your name. And that basically is obviously showing that you're fundraising for the agency, which you're fundraising for. So hopefully that should be a bit of kind of confirmation to them that you're not obviously just doing something for yourself, and that should help you along the way, whether it's at a hospital, definitely if you're going to a pub quiz or something like that, I think it's worth bringing along as well.
I think in the first instance though, hospital is obviously a great place because there's lots of footfall, people are coming and going. But if you have any friends who work in any sort of environment, whether it's an office, whether it's a bank, whether it's a hospital, whether it's a school, you know, it's all the same in essence. Wherever there's lots of people, lots of footfall, traffic, or workers, if you have an in through a friend, or if you can delegate, you know, if they can hold the bake sale for you, that's a really good thing to do. And again, this comes back to the pub quiz thing. If people have something in return for their cash, for example, a cake, you know, odds are they'll come back again, because people are always going to be hungry. People are never going to say no to buying a cake from you, as long as they're sort of good cakes. So yeah, that's a really good one to do. But yeah, always have a go. You know, if you don't ask, you'll never know. And I'm not sure about a hospital so much, but a lot of sort of shops and banks and so on, they'll have almost like a charity or a community coordinator who's in charge of you know, helping local people do lots of things, or helping the organisation itself be charitable and support various causes. So if you maybe just Google the branch, or even, you know, call in, maybe better, because then you can talk to someone face to face, and they can obviously meet you and, you know, see what you're about. And it's harder to ignore people in person. You know, it's easy to delete an email, but you know, they're not going to shoo you away. So always call in person if you're able to, and get that dialogue open. Cool.
So we've got one other question which got emailed into us. If you haven't sent in a question yet and you're kind of wanting to, now's your chance. So we're going to answer this one question, and then we'll probably start wrapping up in a bit. But yeah, so add another question if you've still got something on your mind. Right, so the other question we've got, which is around deadlines, which is it possible to get a deadline extension? And the answer to this is, in very exceptional, kind of rare circumstances, we're able to grant deadline extensions on a kind of case-by-case basis. I would never go in to fundraising expecting that that's going to be possible, because they are there for a reason. They're there for us to obviously have a set point so that we know that you're going to be committed and you're able to hit that target by that deadline. But they're also there for your own sake as well, because we want you, you know, we don't want you to have the last week or two before you're going on placement kind of scrambling about, you know, doing another bake sale here, collecting there. We want you to be able to, you know, spend your last little bit, maybe getting the last few bits of kit, like sorted out, saying bye to friends and family, and yeah, just chilling out a bit. So they are there for a reason. Again, the most important thing though is to stay in touch with us. If there is something going on which you think you know, might be affecting your fundraising, and you know you're a bit worried about it, let us know. That's the main thing. As long as you're keeping in communication with us, so that's the main point.
Yeah, but just, you know, make sure that your fundraising support officer is in the know. You know, we are in no way able to grant, you know, anyone deadline extensions. You know, it is just the volunteers we are working with. And like Johnny said, it is a case-by-case basis. But if you keep in good contact with us, and sort of we know your situation, we know what's going on, we know if you've got other priorities or commitments, or we know you're particularly stressed at a particular time, you know, we can manage that together then. But if you are just sort of being quiet or being a bit shy or not wanting to share, that's really not a good reflection on you. And you know, we're here to help you, but it works both ways, and it's your responsibility to make sure that we know what's going on with you, so we can help you to the best of our abilities.
Cool. So I'm gonna just quickly, okay, there's one other question I think that we've just got into. Let me just see if I can find it.
Is it the Isabel question?
Oh yeah, shall I say that?
Right, so is it all right to fundraise in a different country than the UK and publish an article in a newspaper of a different country? Yes, I can't see any problem with that, as long as the content is correct, obviously, and people in this other country and community don't start applying to ICS, because I don't think they'll be able to take part. It is a British government funded initiative. But we do have a media tips email as well, where there is a template article which we can send you, and you can use. You can obviously edit it to your own specifications, but then you can forward that on to the newspaper, or you can just use it to copy paste things that you like. But we have a lot of fundraisers who do fundraise in different countries. We have volunteers who are maybe studying abroad, or they're traveling in the lead up to their placement, or sometimes they have family who live abroad and they're there for a significant amount of time. But you know, the same thing applies. You can still set up your Just Giving page. You can donate in different there are a few currencies you can't donate in. And there are a few countries where you can't have a JustGiving page, but if it's across Europe, it's mostly fine. And JustGiving does operate in a lot of currencies. This information is available on JustGiving as well if you want to check if it applies to whatever country you're referring to. But yeah, fundraising still applies, whether it's doing things like dinner parties or collections, the same sort of permissions will apply. You can still do challenges. You can obviously still fundraise at home. This is where things like Facebook and WhatsApp and Snapchat and all your social medias come into play. But yeah, spread the word.
Yeah, I guess just on that point, if you are going to be abroad, whether that's for kind of just a long amount of time or whether it's just a short amount of time, especially near deadlines, if you could just drop us an email just to let us know in case we're planning on calling you, that'd be really helpful. And yeah,
if you're trekking through the jungle in Borneo and don't have access to emails, that's fine, but just tell us so that you don't come back and we've been emailing you every day frantically searching for an answer. Yeah, just keep in touch. And the same with the agencies as well. If they're looking for a reply or response from you by a particular date, if they don't know you're out of the country, or maybe are with no access to emails or your phone for a particular amount of time, just share that news with us and we can manage that.
Cool. Yeah, so I think, unless there's any last minute ones that come up quickly, not that I can see. So I think that's the end of the webinar then. So I hope you found that useful. If you do have any other questions, which maybe you haven't had time to ask now or that come to mind later, just get in touch with whoever your fundraising support officer is, and hopefully we'll be able to help you out. And yeah, I guess I'll just finish again just by saying make sure you keep in touch with us. Yeah, just keep us up to date. When things are going well, let us know as well. We want to know when it's going well as when you might have a few challenges in the way as well. Yeah. Other than that, cool. I hope you have a good rest of your week. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.